talk English.
This is so real, not the fill in the blank.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me you're something without telling me you're that thing.
Exactly.
If you spend, any time online lately, you've probably seen these phrases literally everywhere.
Oh, absolutely. They're unavoidable.
And maybe you felt a little lost in the comment section, which is totally fair, because right now the English language is evolving faster than, at any point since the invention of the printing press.
It really is. It's wild.
And the craziest part, the epicenter of this huge linguistic earthquake isn't some fancy university or a literature scene. It's happening entirely in the comment sections of 15-second videos.
Yeah, it's a profound paradox, really.
Yeah.
I mean, the shortest form of media we've ever created is simultaneously generating the most complex, layered, and rapidly shifting dialect we have ever seen.
Right.
And it's moving so incredibly fast that, if you step away for a month, you practically need a translator just to understand a casual conversation.
Okay, let's unpack this, because today's deep dive is all about using this new internet vocabulary as a cultural x-ray machine.
Oh, I love that analogy.
Thanks. Yeah, we're not just looking at slang today. We want to show you how this hyper-specific language actually reveals the anxieties, the coping mechanisms, and, the unspoken rules of modern digital life.
Yeah, the rules are key here.
Totally. Our sources today map out an ecosystem where literal communication is basically dead and context is, it's the only thing keeping you afloat.
The death of literalism is it's the perfect place to start, actually. Because when we look at how users communicate on these short-form platforms, there is this distinct, almost aggressive move away from stating declarative facts.
How do you mean?
Well, you don't say, this cafe has a nice Parisian theme. You say, it's giving Paris.
Oh my gosh, yes. I hear it's giving constantly.
Yeah.
It extends to everything. People will be like, it's giving Monday chaos, or, it's giving relatable. But what is the actual, linguistic function of replacing the word is with giving? Because to me, it feels like it entirely changes the stakes of the sentence.
It absolutely does. It shifts the focus away from the objective reality of the object, right?
Yeah.
And it puts it entirely on the atmospheric mood that it projects.
The vibe, basically.
Exactly, the vibe. It's giving acts as this bridge between a physical thing and an abstract feeling. Because in this highly visual, super curated online culture, people care way less about what something objectively is.
Right. The facts don't matter as much.
Right. They care much more about the specific energy or vibe it projects.
Yeah.
It's atmospheric language.
Atmospheric language. So it's less about direct communication and way more about identity curation.
Precisely.
Which honestly totally aligns with another phrase we see everywhere right now, main character behavior.
Oh, yes. That's a huge one.
It's like treating your own mundane daily routine like a high-budget movie set. You aren't just, walking to get coffee. You are strutting down the avenue with this dramatic soundtrack that only you can hear.
Yeah, and notice the underlying psychology there.
Right.
In a world where people, especially younger generations, feel completely powerless over, the economy, politics, global events.
Pretty much everything.
Exactly. Main character behavior is a way to reclaim some of that agency. You're basically asserting that you are the protagonist of your immediate surroundings.
Right, you're the star of your own life.
Yeah. And if you execute that persona perfectly, or if you dress flawlessly for some specific niche occasion, the community will say you understood the assignment.
Which has entirely leaped off the screen, by the way.
Oh, 100%.
I was literally in a meeting last week, and someone praised a quarterly earnings presentation by saying the accounting team understood the assignment.
No way. The accounting team?
Yes. It was surreal. But there's a catch to all of this curation, right? Because our sources highlight a massive cultural rule here. You are never, ever allowed to state your identity directly.
Right. It's an extreme show, don't tell culture. And that prompt, tell me you're a perfectionist without telling me you're a perfectionist, that's the ultimate distillation of that rule.
So true.
We're demanding indirect behavioral evidence.
Right. So a user won't just reply with, I'm a perfectionist. They'll reply with something like, I rewrote my email to the boss 12 times. sent it to a friend to review the tone, and then waited until exactly 9:02 a.m. to hit send so I didn't look desperate.
That is so specific and so accurate.
We've all been there.
We really have. And by demanding the evidence, rather than just accepting the label, the language forces users into this shared vulnerability.
Interesting.
Yeah, it creates a much stronger community bond when people recognize themselves in those hyper-specific behaviors rather than just agreeing with a generic label like perfectionist.
That shared vulnerability is fascinating, especially when we look at how it plays out in text, because the real linguistic innovation, like the really wild stuff, seems to happen in these real-time reactions in the comment section.
Oh, absolutely. The comment section is where the magic happens.
And the punctuation is doing like an absurd amount of heavy lifting.
It really is.
Let's look at the M dash for a second. People will just comment, wait, or the way as a completely incomplete sentence.
Right.
Why are we suddenly talking in cut-off sentences? What's going on there?
Well, to understand the M dash, we have to look at the limitations of a text box.
Okay.
Users are trapped in this text-only medium, but they desperately want to convey prosody.
Prosody.
Yeah, like the tone of voice, the physical breath, the exact comedic timing of a real human reaction.
Ah, got it.
So the M dash is this ingenious evolution of typography. It's a textual representation of being breathless or, being so stunned that you are physically cut off mid-sentence.
It's essentially a way to inject physical comedy into a medium that doesn't have a body.
That's a great way to put it.
You were basically writing the script of a reaction.
Exactly.
Which brings me to a structure I see everywhere, and I really want to dissect it with you. I see comments all the time like, not me watching cooking videos at midnight, or not me spending my entire paycheck on a Tuesday.
Oh, the not me structure, yes.
Right. Why the not me? Why not just say, I am watching cooking videos? What is that specific phrasing doing for the user, psychologically speaking?
It provides immediate psychological distance.
Okay, how so?
By framing an action as not me doing this, the user is simultaneously confessing to an embarrassing or chaotic behavior while kind of stepping outside of themselves to point and laugh.
Oh, wow. So it deflects the shame.
Exactly. It completely deflects the shame. You're acknowledging that the behavior is slightly unhinged, but by performing that acknowledgement, you take the sting right out of it.
You're the comedian making fun of yourself before the audience get the chance to.
Precisely. And it pairs beautifully with the personification we see in the comments, too.
Like what?
Well, someone will write, the music said everything, or the chair was fighting for its life.
Oh, I love that one.
Right. By giving agency to inanimate objects, everything in the video becomes an active participant in this heightened, chaotic drama.
And amidst all that chaos, there are these crazy anchors of intense sincerity, too. Like just commenting the standalone word real, or starting a comment with sis or babe before dropping some devastatingly personal observation.
Yeah, real is really the ultimate validation in this ecosystem.
Just one word.
Just one word. But it asserts that the viewer's experience is universally valid. And using terms of endearment like sis or babe for a total stranger, it's a tactic to disarm.
To lower their guard?
Exactly. It lowers the defenses of the reader. It signals that despite all the layers of irony on the internet, this specific comment is coming from a place of genuine, raw connection.
Let's talk about the engine driving all of this connection, actually, because this language didn't just evolve in a vacuum.
Not at all.
It was entirely shaped by the physical architecture and the algorithmic features of these short-form platforms. Like, features have literally become verbs. We all know what it means to stitch or duet a video online, but now those terms are used as conversational metaphors offline. People will be like, can I stitch that thought to mean add on to my point?
Yeah, respond to this.
Exactly. But the biggest architect of this language, without a doubt, is the algorithm itself, the FYP.
The For You page. It really is the algorithmic feed that dictates modern digital culture. It's the ultimate curator.
See, I kind of want to evolve how we think about the FYP.
Oh.
Yeah, because calling it a curator or a feed feels a little too passive.
Okay, what would you call it?
Well, based on the data in our sources, it acts more like a digital psychologist.
That's interesting.
It's not just a personal shopper that knows what you want to buy. It actually watches how long your thumb hovers over a video about burnout. Or, a POV video about social anxiety.
Right. It's tracking the micro-hesitations.
Exactly. And within an hour, your entire feed and all of the vocabulary within it is hyper-tailored to your unspoken emotional state.
That is a really crucial distinction. Because the algorithm curates so aggressively based on subconscious behavior, Users have started to treat it as this almost omniscient force.
Like it's reading their minds.
Exactly. That's why you see comments like, the FYP brought me here. They're acknowledging that the algorithm somehow knew they needed this hyper-specific validation before they even typed a search query.
But the FYP relies on a very specific vehicle to spread these linguistic trends, right? And that's the sound.
Yes. The sound is perhaps the most revolutionary aspect of this entire communication style.
How so?
Well, going viral no longer just means a video gets millions of views. It means thousands of people are extracting your exact audio clip. A snippet of dialogue, a sigh, a specific musical beat, and they're using it to make their own videos.
Oh, I see. So when a phrase spreads, people aren't just quoting the text.
No, not at all.
They're basically borrowing the original speaker's emotional resonance. You're literally adopting their vocal inflection, their pitch, and their comedic timing to express your own personal frustration or joy.
You are essentially outsourcing the emotional heavy lifting.
Wow. Outsourcing emotion.
Think about it. Why try to invent a new way to express exhaustion when there's a perfectly good, trending audio clip of someone sighing that encapsulates the collective exhaustion of 3 million people?
That is so true. But that collective exhaustion leads us to a really profound cultural whiplash on these apps.
So for sure.
Because the algorithm creates these hyper-niche echo chambers, the language swings wildly between desperate sincerity and total absurd irony.
It's a huge pendulum swing.
Let's look at the sincere side first. We talked about real, but there's also the phrase, "I feel so seen."
Yeah, I feel so seen is basically the highest compliment you can pay a piece of content right now.
Because it's so relatable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It means the creator has articulated an internal experience that the viewer thought was entirely solitary. It bridges the gap of digital isolation.
Or you'll see people start sentences with, "That's the thing, though," to introduce this really complex, heavy insight.
Right, it's a signal flare.
Yeah. It says we are dropping the jokes and getting to the core truth. But then you swipe your screen.
And everything changes.
Everything changes. Suddenly you are in the chaotic, ironic side of the app. And the vocabulary changes entirely. People start talking about brain rot content.
It's a drastic tonal shift, to say the least.
Okay, I have to push back on the framing of this term for a second.
Okay, go for it.
Brain rot sounds like a clinical insult. Like if I told a coworker their presentation was brain rot, they'd be deeply offended.
Oh, they would be furious.
Right. So why are users describing their own viewing habits this way and doing it so fondly?
It definitely seems counterintuitive to celebrate something called brain rot, but you have to view it through the lens of cognitive load.
Cognitive load. Okay.
Modern users are bombarded with an unprecedented amount of high-stress information constantly. The news, economic data, global crises,
Yeah.
it never stops.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
So brain rot refers to content that is entirely meaningless, highly addictive, and often completely absurd. Users call it brain rot affectionately because it requires absolutely zero cognitive effort to consume.
So it's like the ultimate digital junk food.
That's a perfect analogy.
Like, a massive bag of neon orange cheese puffs offers absolutely zero nutritional value.
None.
It might actually be actively bad for your body, but after a 14-hour workday staring at spreadsheets and managing crises, it is exactly what your brain is craving.
But
you don't have the capacity for like a profound 3-hour documentary. You want the cheese puffs. You want the brain rot.
The cheese puff analogy perfectly isolates the mechanism at play here.
Mhm.
It is a necessary decompression tool.
Right.
It's why users refer to it as a guilty pleasure.
Right.
And if someone is pressed in the comments to explain why they've been watching a 4-hour compilation of kinetic sand being cut,
I've watched that.
we all have, but they will simply reply, I will not explain.
I will not explain.
Yeah, they are actively refusing to justify their need to mentally disengage.
Which brings us to my absolute favorite phrase from the sources, because it so perfectly encapsulates this coping strategy.
Which one?
Delulu is the solulu. Delusional is the solution.
Oh, it is a masterful piece of cognitive framing.
It really is.
Delulu is the solulu, is the active embrace of positive delusion. It's adopting entirely unrealistic beliefs as a motivational stance, or really a protective shield.
Like convincing yourself that your crush hasn't texted you back because they are just, deeply intimidated by your overwhelming brilliance.
Yes.
Rather than the reality that they just aren't interested. Or deciding you are definitely going to get that big promotion you aren't remotely qualified for.
Exactly. It isn't clinical delusion, obviously. It is performative, self-aware delusion.
Self-aware, that's the key.
Right. If the real world is objectively stressful, and the path to traditional success feels increasingly blocked, adopting a Delulu mindset where everything will magically work out in your favor, well, it's a very human, very resilient way to survive the daily mental load.
Wow.
Delulu and brain rot are really both just psychological survival tactics wrapped up in internet irony.
So how does a hyper-niche psychological survival tactic go from a single comment section to, like, being printed on a t-shirt at a fast fashion mall store?
It's a pipeline.
Yeah, how does this pipeline actually work? And why does slang die the absolute second a bank uses it in a corporate tweet?
The corporate death of slang is the final stage of a very well-documented sociolinguistic pipeline.
Okay, break it down for us.
Well, to understand why it dies, we have to look at where it comes from. The vast majority of this dynamic, highly expressive language does not originate in a vacuum.
Where does it start?
It originates almost entirely in AAVE, African American Vernacular English, or within highly marginalized specific subcultures online.
So phrases that have been part of Black communities for decades with really deep cultural history are suddenly discovered by the algorithm.
Yes, the algorithm acts as this massive accelerant.
Right.
It takes language from AAVE, often strips it of its original cultural context, and blasts it out to the mainstream feed.
Wow.
This is a classic sociological phenomenon where marginalized dialects are co-opted by the dominant culture. But the short-form format and the algorithmic feed make it happen in weeks instead of years.
So it moves from the origin subculture, explodes on the FYP, gets adopted by mainstream American speech, and then the corporations get a hold of it.
And that is the absolute death knell.
Game over.
Game over, because slang functions as an in-group marker.
Yeah.
It proves you are part of the culture, that you truly understand the irony in the context.
Right.
The moment a major brand uses the slang in a commercial or a marketing tweet, it becomes an outgroup marker.
It instantly becomes cringe.
Exactly. It loses its authenticity. So the subcultures that created it immediately abandoned it to invent something new because the language is literally no longer theirs.
It's the circle of internet life.
It really is.
But for the listener who is just trying to survive a team meeting or a family group chat without completely misusing this vocabulary, what is the core operating principle here?
It all comes down to one thing.
How do you navigate a language that is literally designed to change the moment it gets too popular?
The single most critical takeaway from our sources today is what we call the context rule.
The context rule.
Because of the reliance on performative text, atmospheric vibes, and borrowed audio that we've been talking about, the exact same phrase can be deeply earnest or entirely sarcastic depending on who is saying it and where it is posted.
Right, yeah.
You cannot just define the words. You have to read the room.
Living rent-free in my head is a perfect example of this context rule, actually.
Oh, yes. How so?
Well, if I say a specific painting is living rent-free in my head, I mean, it's a beautiful piece of art that moved me profoundly.
Right. Highly sincere.
But if I say an incredibly awkward handshake I had at a networking event is living rent-free in my head, I mean, my brain is using it to actively torture me when I try to fall asleep.
Exactly. The definition of the phrase doesn't change at all, but the psychological application is completely inverted based on the context.
So to recap our journey through the digital dialect today.
It's been a journey.
It really has. We established that literalism has been largely replaced by atmospheric curation, relying on phrases like it's giving to project a vibe rather than state a fact.
Yeah.
We explored how text itself has become highly performative, using M-dashes and the not me structure to inject prosody and psychological distance into plain text.
And we analyzed the algorithm as a digital psychologist.
Yes. Serving up brain rot and Delulu philosophies as vital coping mechanisms for a really overloaded generation.
And finally, we track that sociolinguistic pipeline that accelerates AAVE and subcultural slang into mainstream vocabulary right up until its inevitable corporate death. Which brings us right back to your opening metaphor, actually.
The X-ray machine.
Yeah. If we're using this language as an X-ray machine to view modern digital life, we are seeing a culture that is highly anxious, deeply desperate for genuine connection, and fiercely protective of its in-group identity.
But the pipeline we just discussed reveals a really fascinating tension.
What's that?
Well, if we know the life cycle always ends with corporate adoption, and that adoption instantly ruins the slang, What is the next frontier of language creation?
That raises a very important question.
Will internet subcultures eventually engineer a dialect so complex, so heavily reliant on hyperspecific context, layered irony, and fleeting audio trends that brands literally cannot use it without breaking their own marketing rules?
Could we see the creation of an entirely unbrandable language?
A dialect designed specifically to reject corporate translation.
The ultimate defense mechanism against an algorithm that just wants to monetize every human interaction.
An unbrandable language.
Yeah.
The X-ray machine of internet culture shows us that people aren't just passively adapting to the digital ecosystem, they're actively trying to outsmart it.
That is a wild, brilliant thought to leave off on.
I think so too. We want to hear from you. What hyper-specific phrase from today's deep dive is currently living rent-free in your head? Drop it in the comments. The more specific, the better. Catch you next time.